Well, I'll go back all the way to the start when I didn't even know I worked for Midwest. When we burned the place down, and you had already done certain things here, but you know, the farmhouse and coming down here and helping out and looking at the place and thinking about what it was going to be, but not really knowing anything about Midwest or anything about where you were, because that's probably even before I knew there was a Midwest Groundcovers. It was when I knew that you had bought this place and we had to make it into some kind of a nursery. So we were burning the house down. And that was a good day. We drank some beer, we sweated, we got some burgers brought in, and it was a real family type affair. It was good. It was a good beginning.
So I came as an immigrant from Denmark with a wife and two little kids. They were 3 and 4 years old, and we had $600 in my wallet. So I went out and laid bricks, and I remember my first job lasted approximately 10 minutes. Then I got fired because all the tools were different and the ways they did it, they was all different. But then the following year in '73, I got a phone call from somebody down a little north of St. Charles. He had heard rumors that a Danish bricklayer had arrived. And so he called and asked, could I come down and lay some concrete blocks for him for his first new little greenhouse. And I said, of course I can do that.
You had learned it by then?
I had learned it by then, yeah. And it's still sitting over there, the old GH1.
I almost didn't come here because when I heard the name of the company, Midwest Groundcovers, and they only grew ground covers, so the ones that you mentioned there, I said, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But I did a little scouting around and learned that you grew more. And in the early days, yes, it was very limited. And now we grow some 1,200 different varieties. And maybe that's too many for me to comprehend, but I'm a plant guy, so I really enjoyed learning all the plants and growing all the plants. So that's one thing that I think is quite different than the early days.
But in those days, though, you would take anything, because working for Midwest Groundcovers, I remember planting mallows over on the other side and budding mallows, you know, in the ground, which is crab apples. And I was saying, sure. And this is Peter's Midwest Groundcover company?
It's a ground cover.
And the potting soil do by Cheval.
Yeah, so I mean, this was a system that actually worked for many, many years. So the ingredients for the potting soil, we would lay out like a layer cake. And then I would go through it with a rototiller. They would mix it up. And then when I had been through a couple of times with the rototiller, then we would shovel it to one side and then shovel it to the other side. And then it was ready to put on the potting table for Hubentino to pot. Yeah. Well, now it's completely different. But then we went from the hand stuff to have a bobcat.
Well, it's still made in the layer cake now, you could say, but it's on a belt that's going along there.
Yes.
The first, the peat moss falls onto the belt, and then the bark, and then the other ingredients, and it goes into a big hopper and it's mixed up, and it comes out and right into the truck. So it's same philosophy, just different process.
And that machinery makes 400 yards of potting soil per hour. It'll fill a semi-truck in 12 minutes. And a semi-truck of soil is more than we used the whole, how many years?
It's a good thing we didn't have to mix that much by hand.
Yeah. We were stronger though in those days.
Peter had his way of making cuttings of the ground covers, and he was very methodical, and he did a certain way, and he got maybe 10,000 cuttings in a day. And then Hubentino came, and he didn't follow all those rules. And so how many cuttings did you make in a day?
40,000.
40?
Well, but I remember we were working on to cut cotton, the Cornos Esquina, remember in Charles Glen, Peter?
Yes.
And when done, I said, Juventino, how many you got it? I said, this number, I can't remember how many. And said, well, you do more than I. You do this before? I said, never, right?
Yeah.
And he got a cup of coffee. He said, Juventino, come on, drink a little coffee.
How could these tiny little plants add up to anything? But they did. That is really what you once in a while hear people talking about. They call it the American dream. And we are so lucky we have participated in an American dream here.
We believe we may grow good plants, but we cannot say that we grow better plants than another similar good nursery. But we try to give the customers better service than the other guys. And I think we have, to a large extent, succeeded in that. There are great opportunities for the future, and there are opportunities for this kind of business. I cannot imagine the time coming when people would not want plants and need plants. We need plants for food, we need plants for windbreak, plants for beauty, for erosion, and most of all, we need them to suck up CO2 that we are so concerned about. They are machines that are already created to eat CO2. We don't need to invent a machine for it, they are there. Just plant them. So it's up to the next generation to take advantage of it in such a way that they make a good living and they can improve on things and not grow so fast that they kill themselves.